It's shocking to me to see that a lot of beginner pickleball players make the mistake of playing the majority of the game in the backcourt or transition zone. I'm telling you, your game will level up instantly when you learn that this kitchen line and kind of hugging this area of the court is the best and most offensive play. So the tip here is learn your shots that are going to help get you to the kitchen line, and hold this line and hold this position, because this is the best place to play on court and it will win you more games.
It shocks me how many times in pickleball I see beginners return and stay back. So I want you to think this: return and run, especially in doubles. There are a few times, maybe in singles, where you might return and stay just to get a nice shot that will allow you to advance. But in doubles, I want you to think return and run. So if I'm getting a serve, I want to use my momentum to return and get to the net and get and establish myself up at the place where I can create the most pressure. That will help me win the most points in pickleball.
This next tip will help you in most of your shots, but especially dinking. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make is they're very wristy when they're dinking, meaning that they'll use their wrist to get the ball over the net. What that does is it causes a lot of unforced errors, because you're relying on these tiny muscles to muscle that ball over the net, and that's really hard. It ends up being really inconsistent. So something that's going to totally level up all of your shots, but especially dinking, is keeping your wrist in a static position and using your bigger muscles like your shoulders to get the ball over the net, thus being a lot more consistent and reliable. This will help you in most of your shots in pickleball, but especially in dinking.
If I could go back in time and tell myself something that would level my dinking up quicker, it would be to learn to take more balls out of the air. I see a lot of people when they're dinking, they decide early on they're gonna let every ball bounce and they get pushed back. And you see what's happening here is there's just a lot of movement. While it can be advantageous to let some balls bounce so you can create offense, sometimes it's more advantageous to take balls out of the air, because what happens is you take time away from your opponents and you're able to create out of the air and not just off the bounce. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to try to cut angles off. And what's happening when I do this is I'm taking time away from my opponent. And see, I can still let balls bounce, but this will allow me to create more offense out of the air, and I'll have much more success long term if I can learn to take balls out of the air.
This next tip can literally transform your entire game with the simplest adjustment, and it's coming back to the ready position and eliminating a lot of extra movements. So I'll tell you what I mean. A lot of times when I see people dinking the ball, they'll hit their dink and then their paddle will fall at their knees, and it's like they're carrying a bag or something. What this does is it creates a lot of unnecessary movement, because you're constantly going paddle down, paddle up, paddle down, paddle up. That's very inefficient. So you really want to think about creating efficiency on the court, eliminating extra movement, because that's going to keep things a lot more consistent. So instead of dropping your paddle down, I want you to focus on having your paddle up in this ready position as soon as you hit the ball. What this is going to do is it's going to keep your chest facing forward. It's going to keep you more aggressive, and you'll be able to be a lot more offensive because you already have your paddle in that starting position if someone hits a speed up or a high ball that you can volley. That simple adjustment will literally win you tons of points. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the playpickleball.com YouTube channel.
And we'll see you on the next one.